never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another reason to breathe this air.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are or whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Well, one day last week I did a video on all the things that I got right during the college football season, and I said that before the year was up I would do one on everything that I got wrong. And I told you in that video that I was just going by memorization because I don't write this stuff down and I don't go back and watch the videos and write it down. I write it all down for a video, and then once the video is done, I throw it away or erase it or whatever. I don't keep it. So when I do a video, more than likely 2 or 3 months later, I'm not going to remember exactly what I said or what I didn't say. So just like in that video, when I told you I was going by memorization, today, when I talk about everything I got wrong, I'm also going by memorization. So just like there was probably more things that I got right that I don't remember, and I think I did 9 or 10 things in the video that I remember being right on. Well, today I've got 4 things that I remember being wrong about, and I'm actually stretching further on this video. The things I got right was all college football related. The things I got wrong, actually some NFL stuff on here and some NASCAR stuff on here, because I like to point out what I get right and what I get wrong when I can remember. If there's anything extra that you remember me being wrong about, please feel free to let me know, because I'm sure there's something that I forgot. But the first thing that I remember being wrong about, and I can explain why I was so wrong, and I was dead wrong on this, was the Atlanta Falcons. First, let me say the Falcons suck. And second, let me say that I believe I said they were going to go 11-6 or 10-7. And right now they're sitting at 6-8. So even if they win their last 3 games, which they're not going to, but if they do, 9-8 is the best they can do. But the reason I had them picked to go 11-6 or 10-7 is because when you look at the Falcons' schedule before the season started, they only had about 3, maybe 4 games that I looked at and I immediately said, oh, that's a loss. That's a loss. But outside of those 3 or 4 games, every other game was winnable. And the reason why I thought they were going to win the majority of those games is because I talked about it here on the channel last football season, but Smith, the Falcons head coach, basically took Cordarrelle Patterson, who had been pretty much a career kick return, punt return guy. That's all he'd ever done, really. He played slot receiver on offense on occasion, but he was basically a career kick return specialist. And the Falcons signed him, and last year he converted to a running back, and he was very, very, very good. So I thought, well, they took a kick return guy and moved him to a running back, and it worked. And then the Falcons drafted Bijan Robinson, who is an actual running back. So I thought, well, if they can take a guy who's a kick return guy and put him at running back and make it work, now that they've drafted an actual running back, it's really going to work. Because Robinson is better than Patterson at running back, because Robinson is a running back. And then for whatever reason, Bijan Robinson gets the ball 7 or 8 times a game, maybe. And then the Falcons drafted Kyle Pitts a couple of years ago in the top 10, which you should never draft a tight end in the top 10. A tight end this day and time in football is not going to be a game changer. But if you're going to draft one top 10, at least try to use them. And Kyle Pitts is basically non-existent. And then they've got Drake London, who they throw to occasionally, but not like they should. So the Falcons have playmakers, they just don't use them. And I know everybody wants to hate on Desmond Ridder, and I'm not saying that Desmond Ridder is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. But when the Falcons have playmakers and they don't use them, I don't really know how much of this is the fact that Ridder sucks and how much of it is the fact that the Falcons don't use their playmakers. Why do you want to draft Kyle Pitts in the top 10 and not use him? Why do you want to draft Bijan Robinson and not use him? It makes no sense to me. But I thought for sure, since they converted Patterson last year to a running back and was successful with it, that when they got Bijan Robinson, he was pretty much going to step in and do the same thing Patterson did. And he has it, but it's not because of his doing. It's the team's doing. Robinson is not even on the field, and when he is, he don't get the ball. I just do not understand it. Now, of course, a lot of folks are wanting the head coach fired, but we always, as fans, every time our team loses, we want to just fire everybody, shut everything down, start over again. And I don't know that firing Smith this early in his tenure is the answer. But if it's not the answer, we've got to figure out why we have these playmakers that we're not using. The next thing I was wrong about, and I wasn't really wrong, I was just wrong on the fact that they found ways to win games, and that was, I said before the season started, Alabama would go 9-3, and as the year progressed, there were more and more people coming out and saying this is probably the worst team that Nick Saban has had since his very first year there when they lost to Louisiana Monroe. But they found ways to win. In years past, they dominate inferior opponents. But this year, they struggled with South Florida. They struggled with Arkansas. They struggled with Auburn. They didn't really look great against Texas A&M, but they found ways to win. So I was right on the fact that Bama just didn't have the talent this year, but I was wrong on the fact that I thought it would hurt them, and somehow, some way, Nick Saban found ways to win ugly football games. And the next thing I was wrong about was going back to NASCAR. Was all the way back in January, I predicted, I think, Kyle Busch to win the championship. I'm not positive that I picked Kyle Busch, but I think I did. But one thing I know for sure is that even if I didn't pick Kyle Busch, I did not pick Ryan Blaney, who, of course, won the Cup championship. So I think I picked Kyle Busch. I'm not positive. But either way, I was wrong because I know I didn't pick Ryan Blaney. I had Ryan Blaney going to the playoffs, but not winning the whole shebang. And the last thing that I was wrong about is my team, the Clemson Tigers in college football. I picked them to go 11-1, and the only reason I picked them to go 11-1 because honestly, back in about June, July, I had Clemson going 9-3. That's what I thought. That was my original thought, and I should have stuck with it. But as we went through summer and got on into August, close to the season starting, Dabo Swinney, who is Mr. Positive, he got me. He got one over on me. He just kept talking about how excited he was about this team and how this team was going to be so good. And he just made it sound like he knew something we didn't know, that this team was going to go out there and shock the world. And there was even early talk back in August that Dabo Swinney himself had talked about this team had a chance to go to the playoffs. And I know Dabo's always Mr. Positive. He never, out in public, bashes any player, anything. He might do it behind closed doors, but in front of cameras and in front of media, he never bashes his coaches. He never bashes his players. He never has and never will. But he's also positive, but he's a realist. And this is the first year that I can remember that he was overly positive, and he got me because I thought, okay, if he's this positive, this team's going to be really good. So I actually changed my prediction that I had back in about June or July of them going 9-3 and said, okay, if he's that positive, they're going 11-1. And no, I should have stuck with what I originally thought back in the summer at 9-3 because they were 8-4, so they were almost right where I originally had them. But Dabo got one over on me. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. So to my knowledge, I got, I believe, 10 things right and 4 things wrong. Now, I have not gone back and watched any of the videos, so there might be other stuff that I picked either right or wrong, but I just don't remember. But these are the things that stood out to me, and when I did the videos on all these things, I remember and said, okay, I'm going to have to go back and say that I was right about that or wrong about that. But some things I say I just don't remember. But I remember doing an entire video on the Falcons. And I can remember doing an entire video on Clemson football. So when you do a video and you focus on one sport or one team, it's a lot easier to remember than it is when you do a video and you talk about 5, 6, 7, 8 things. That's a lot to remember in one video. So it's a lot easier to know if you're right or wrong when you do a video focused on one sport or one team. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why did the iPhone go to the dentist? He had a Bluetooth. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.